this is the first time Slate's ever had a bridle on, so I'm going to show you what I would do for their first time having a bridle on. First of all, I'm just gonna ask them to give a little pressure, and then once they do, I'm gonna reward immediately. Play. And from there on, I'll show you what else I'll do. But I just want to kind of get them to be giving to the pressure so they can get used to the bit in their mouth. It's a whole other story though, because first of all, I like to train my horses to ride, obviously. And I like to get them going good in the ramping with a halter, and in the arena I like to get them going good with a halter in the arena. And eventually to where they're doing everything I would have them to do in a bridle, but in a halter. And then I'll come back, start all the way over, and try to get a drape line, also with the halter still on them, to be able to do everything with a drape line. And then I'll come back and start completely over again, but they'll know the basics. But then I'll ask them with a bridle and do everything, and then I'll ask them with a drape line on the bridle. So yeah. Okay, so come on, Slater. They can, like, you could, so like, he might back up in the bridle, the halter perfect. Then you put a bridle on and he looks like he's never been trained to. So I like to do everything though with the halter, everything first, and then I'll move to a bridle. And you can also, before you get on, you can ask them to get to the bridle before you can get on. And some people like to use driving reins, but I don't really use driving reins. I don't know, I just don't. Alright, so first I'll ask him to give some pressure on the ground. So you want to hold even pressure. You not necessarily even, but you want to just hold pressure. Not really hard pressure. Don't really like, okay. So say you're holding the rein and you're holding it. And let's say you've been here for like 20 minutes. Okay, they're not getting the idea. So you could increase the pressure a little bit. But don't increase the pressure. Don't gain just don't increase the pressure at all. Just sit there in the same pressure you started with until they give. See that? I'm barely touching the reins and he's already. Now if I would have started harsh, it would have been a whole lot more. It would have been awful. It would have been hideous. Because I would have started so much and he would have just been so confused. Start with light. Soft as possible, firm as necessary. The time there's a drape in my line, I'm going to give him his head. Time I feel release, I'm going to give him his head. And another thing, when I'm holding his head like this and he gives pressure, I'm going to release. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to hold it and then when he releases, ask more. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hold this pressure, and then when it gets, I'm going to release. And then eventually you can ask for more. You can ask for him to put his head a little bit further back. So you can make your line a little longer and you can get back here. Like that. Always start small and soft and quiet. So now that I've achieved that on the ground and ended on a good note, I'm going to start to ask him, try to start asking to actually flex him. Alright, so I'm going to stand here and I'm going to hold his line. I'm going to hold it here no matter what he does. We'll hold it until he gets the pressure. Attaboy. See how he gave the pressure out of him. I might hold it a little further out and set up more up because I'm not quite ready for that. Attaboy. Now I'll go to the other side. Glove on him. So you notice he put his head down and kind of everybody hadn't gave to my pressure yet. Because I wanted him to turn towards me. Alright, so now, turn his head towards the enemies. Now I'm going to ask for him to ground. I asked for him to back. Alright, so when I want him to back, attaboy. One step at a time. Softly and pressure. Back. And you can also help them. Don't just pull, say back. Talk to them. That's why God made a horse's ears so big. Alright, back. 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 Good boy. You want to give a major work because anytime he set back, every time, trust me, horses aren't dumb, they'll learn. Back. 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 Good boy. Oh, good boy. Alright, so now when I cover most of the basics on the ground, I'm going to go ahead and get on. And another thing is, if it's their first time with a bridle, it's good to just have their bridle, just have the headstall part on. And then still have your halter and your halter reins still connected. So that way you can use off of that, but they can have the feel of it. But then when you got to put your reins on your bridle, you know, they'll be used to it. Okay, so now I've covered some of that. And also eventually, you can, after you do some of this, you can lunge them so they're given to pressure with the bridle. Sometimes I lunge some of my horses with bridles on. Now I'm going to get them on. The first thing I'm going to ask him to flex. Look at that. Do you see how soft that was? real gentle, and I'm giving him a lot of reward. Some horses you might have to be a little more firm, it just depends. Good boy. And I've rode horses before where I was like, man, they're fast, and I was in their face, but then immediately I let go. This is kind of off subject a little bit, but then immediately when I let go, they immediately slowed down. Like when I just gave them their head, they're like, huh, they release. Some horses just don't like you up in their mouth. They like you to be really, really, really soft. Eventually, I want him to be where I can just say flex, and he'll, like, you know, put me on him, and he'll just flex. So he's walking, that doesn't count. I want him to give me his head. Alright. I'm gonna get on a flex. I'm gonna get where y'all can see. Alright, so now I'm gonna ask him to back. 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 Good boy. Back. 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 Good boy. And then eventually, I want to ask him to eventually later on, I'm going to be asking him to lower his head. That's a whole other story, but so if the horse needs a little help, but eventually I want him to just be able to back when me telling him to, and giving him a certain leg cue. So a leg cue, I give him the back, I squeeze, but at first I just teach him with the bridle because for young horses it's kind of confusing at times. Alright, so for Slate, I'm going to ask him to back, good. Then eventually I put a little bit of, I squeeze him up here instead of my lower leg, so it's not as, like, I don't know, what's the word? So it's not as big of a deal. And then eventually I'm going to squeeze with my whole leg. Or even if you cue them with your upper leg and they do it good, then that's good. So I want to squeeze that, back, good boy, back, good boy. And then for my horse to lower their head, I like to teach them. I'll shake my legs, and eventually they'll drop their head. But at first, I kind of bump their mouth for them to lower their head. Sorry about that. So what I was saying, eventually, for them to lower their head, I'll bump, and then they'll lower their head eventually when they get what I mean. And then, I'll start adding the shake, like with my legs. I'll start shaking as I bump them with their mouth. And then, eventually, I'll just shake my legs and they'll drop their head. So, yeah. Say bye, Slate.